What is up, guys? So this time we are talking about our worst movies of the year.
Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby.
We had a lot of movies we loved this year, and honestly, not as many that we hated. I tried to avoid a lot of movies in theaters, so I know a lot of lists are going to have, the Madam Webs and the Craven the Hunters and the Crow remake and the Borderlands movie and Rebel Moon Part 2.
Yeah, but I'm
I
not.
can make my own list based on what I think is the worst movies of the year, but...
I'm not gonna go to the theater to see a movie I know I'm not gonna like.
Correct. Yeah, we try really hard not to pay money to see movies that we don't want to see and think we're going to hate. But there's the rare occasion where you either go in to a movie with high expectations and get disappointed, or you go into a movie with moderate expectations and still find yourself at the bottom of the abyss. And that is what happened to us a handful of times. And I don't know what your list looks like at all. So we're going to have different lists on this one for sure.
I'm sure, yeah, because these are probably some of the movies you didn't see, but also my list is fairly short. I only put 8 on there. I definitely could have put more, I'm sure, but...
I'm going to narrow it down to 10. I mean, I watched over 100 movies this year, so I have a lot that I could put, but I think the ones worth mentioning, there's 10.
Yeah.
So I won't even have just honorable mentions. I'll just say the 10. But since I got more than you, I guess I'll rattle off my first 2, and then we'll start with your number 8. But my first 2, mainly because it's just a huge disappointment for me, was Maxine. I really liked Pearl a lot. I thought X was cool and had potential, and then I thought Pearl nailed it, and I was like, ooh, what's he gonna do next? And then he did a dud that I thought was I wanted to flee the theater. And people are like acting like this was just a little bit disappointing. Man, for me, this was like, I went from like thinking I was gonna see a great movie to like, I wanna fall asleep. Wasted potential there. So
that is on my list as well.
Okay, so that's my number 10. My number 9 is not as particularly like offensive to me. I went in with low expectations and I didn't go see this in the theater. I just streamed it for free. It's Afraid with an emphasis on the AI, which is a John movie that came out this year where they have like an Alexa home assistant, like smart house kind of thing, and everything goes awry in all the ways you know where it's gonna go. It's like a Megan type situation. And but Megan had so much more personality. This thing's just empty calories and sucks, and I don't have anything interesting to say about it. It's just it's a suck fest.
Well, what did you think?
I hated it.
So what's your number 8 though?
I didn't really rank these, but I'll try to throw them together really quick. Probably Megalopolis, man. That shit was boring, and like I'm so hyped up for it, and I just did not want to be in the theater, especially for how long that movie was. It was just, I did not care at all.
We do not care.
Mm-hmm. It is on my list.
Okay.
Yeah. My number 8 is The Watchers, and I almost can't remember that I saw it. But apparently there was a movie called The Watchers that I saw this year. We did a whole review about it. It was M. Night Shyamalan's daughter, who's one of his 2 daughters, whose career he's propping up this year. And maybe she's got potential. I don't want to judge her from one movie, but this was empty of everything for me. Not scary at all. And I felt trapped like the people in the movie, and wanted to run out of the theater with this one as well. So yeah, The Watchers was, I almost said Trap. That's another interesting side note of the year. But yeah, The Watchers there was nothing there. I forgot about it as soon as I walked out of the theater. So what else you got?
Elisa Frankenstein. Thought it had potential from the trailers, but man, it was just another snooze fest. Just Frankenstein, but he turns into a cute boy, and then she bangs him. You know.
It reminded me of like Warm Bodies, but with like a lot less personality, and it didn't nail any of the funny. Like it was trying to be funny, and it didn't succeed. Like nobody was laughing in my theater at all, and probably not yours either. It just felt like flat. Yeah, that would have been one of my dishonorable mentions for sure. Next up, I got Argyle. Oh boy. Okay. Oh boy, Argyle, man. I think The Kingsman is a great movie. The first Kingsman movie is a great movie, and I think the idea of, what's his name, Matthew Vaughn, I think, going back into like the spy espionage world sounds cool. but I was worried from like the hairstyles on the trailer. But I like the cast is great. I'm just like, what is going on with like the costume design and like what? This was this was suffering in theater to get through this. It just kept getting worse and worse, and I'm like, what are you people doing to Sam Rockwell? What have you guys done to Bryce Dallas Howard? How did you get Henry Cavill to sign up for this? Like, what is going on? It just got goofier and goofier and more impossible, and I can't suspend my disbelief for that. No, not worth it. And I think you were about on the same page, right? I mean, maybe it's on.
I thought it was all right.
Oh man, I was suffering. I forgot.
Yeah.
I guess we were not on the exact same page on that one. Yeah, I had a hard time with that. What else you got, sir?
Night swim.
Ooh, I'm so spooky.
Haunted swimming pool. Ooh.
What a fascinating. That was our first mistake of the year. Yeah.
Yeah, that was earlier in the year too. Yeah, I mean, Wyatt Russell, I think is his name. I mean, former baseball player. Or no, he was like on medical leave or something.
Injury.
There was something where he could have like swung the bat to like beat the shit out of something and he just didn't do it or something. I don't know. The movie, I can't really remember it.
It's just such a non-starter, like the haunted swimming pool thing. Like, I mean, maybe you could have done some cool stuff with that because people do have fear of water and stuff like that, but they just didn't. They didn't nail a single thing. And when you start to see the things that are supposed to be creepy in the pool, it's so much worse.
Yeah.
I was like, God, you guys are fighting to be the worst movie of the year. My next one is Imaginary. This was another one we watched earlier this year. I don't know what was wrong with me to go to this movie. It's another Blumhouse. Blumhouse used to be somebody you could count on for some good popcorn horror movies, but this thing is trash with the haunted teddy bear and the imaginary world. And we got like 8 movies this year about like what happens to imaginary friends if they're thrown away by their initial imaginers. And this has got to be I mean, I didn't see If, and maybe that's worse than this, but man, this is just abysmal. And once you see like the imaginary world, it's like, oh my God, you guys spent the whole budget before you started the imaginary world part. It was just terrible. The bear is not scary ever. Just a goofy.
And it's kind of like
goofy time.
The imaginary world is kind of like a rip-off of Beetlejuice, too.
It does look like it does look like the Afterlife in Beetlejuice, but like cheap. Yeah.
Yeah.
What's your next one?
I mean, The Watchers, I would say probably it was terrible. It's a little higher up, but both M. Night Shyamalan Ding Dong movies that came out this year, terrible. So I would say The Watchers is up there, and then Trap right with it.
Yeah, Trap was bad too. I found a little more to enjoy about Trap than some of these other ones, but like, God, it's like so many plot contrivances and so many people it's like they made you think he was a genius, but it's really just that everyone around him does the dumbest decision possible to make it so that he can do crimes. I didn't understand that at all. Okay, this is where I'm apologizing in advance, but my next one, my number 5, I guess, worst movie of the year is The Front Room. This is one you liked, but you know, I think I went in with real high expectations. It's A24. A24 is kind of having a hit and miss year this year. It's like the year where A24 might be slipping a little bit, and Neon's right at their heels nipping. But it looked like it was, you know, it was shot very well. There's some good performances in it, but for me, it's like the subject matter. Like, I guess I don't know what I was doing getting into this movie because it's just really disgusting, and that should have been obvious, but I couldn't believe the levels of disgusting it got to. And my number 2 of the year is a disgusting movie, but this is not my flavor of disgusting, I guess. So
yeah.
I had to run out of that one. What's your next one?
I Saw the TV Glow. Man.
That's gonna surprise some people there. Yeah.
Yeah, I wanted to like it, and then I guess I just didn't get the message of the movie that they kind of hide in there. But even if I did, I would have been like, this isn't that great of a movie. It was real boring, and I wanted to like it so much more. Yeah, I wanted to like it so much more than I did, which was not very much at all. It's
not as low on my list, but I had high expectations, and it did disappoint me. It's just like it's hypnotizing you to sleep. But I think it harkens back to some cool like Nickelodeon, like a time period in like kids entertainment, but it didn't do it for me either. My number 4 is one that nobody even saw. So, I mean, crazy to even mention it, I guess, but just as a warning, if this sounds interesting to you, I think it isn't gonna be. But it's called Frogman. It was like a found footage movie from earlier this year. I don't really even want to honor it with saying a whole lot of words about it. It's just a nothing burger of a movie that just happens and then it ends and then you're like, yeah. Did I make what decisions have led me here? Just super forgettable, and all the worst things about found footage, where it's just like too much filming of nothing for like, why do you film everything, and why did you leave that in the movie just to make it seem like it's just candid found footage? It's like, oh man, you gotta wade through a lot of just like nothing happening to get to a little bit of a frog person at the skip. What's your next one?
This might have been like, it was recently that I watched it, but it might have been one of the worst movies I saw this year. Venom: The Last Dance.
Oh, I didn't know you saw that.
Jesus. I watched it up at work one day, and man, it was absolutely just terrible. Yeah, like Tom Hardy's such a good actor, but not in these movies. And I don't know if he's just like, I don't give a fuck, I'm contractually obligated to do 3 of them, or he's just having fun.
Seems like he's passionate about it. It seems like he's passionate about it. But I thought that the first one was okay for what it is, like popcorn entertainment, and then I really didn't like the second one, and I just couldn't get anywhere near the third one. I just thought there's no way the third one's gonna bring it back to something I like. I didn't even like the first one enough to really want to revisit it very much. So.
Well, it's like they use one of the coolest villains from the Marvel series for nothing. Like, he's just sitting in a chair, but he's supposed to be like one of the strongest in the whole Marvel universe. And then they have a cool thing where like all the symbiotes kind of attach, and there's a bunch of them, and they're all fighting these monsters. But it's like barely at all. Then they all get killed like very quickly. It's like, this is why we could have done so much more with this.
This has arguably been the worst year for superhero type movies, if you don't count COVID year, like ever. So it's time to, maybe James Gunn is here to save the day with Superman.
Hopefully, man.
We'll see. So yeah, I guess we're off a little bit. My next one's Night Swim, and we already talked about that. Okay. Terrible. And then I have 2 more, and one of them you already talked about. One of these 2 I absolutely should not have watched, and I went in with rock bottom expectations and still was somehow disappointed, but it doesn't make any sense. It's The Mousetrap, which is now that Steamboat Willie has come into, like, it's copyright free and you can make horror movies about Steamboat Willie. It's one of those. I think it's the first one that came out. I think I just put it on in the background one time, and then it turned into me pretty much just hate watching this. So this is everything that you expect from like a rock bottom micro budget slasher movie with a guy wearing a mask. I imagine this is a lot like what the Winnie the Pooh Blood and Honey movie from last year, or the sequel this year, is like, where it's just a guy in a mask taking off, killing people one at a time. But that was horrible. But I almost feel like wrong about putting it so low at the bottom, because obviously the resources are limited. It just felt like somebody just cash grabbing and jumping on a property that they had the opportunity to, and they just didn't put any thought into it. So I guess that's why it's so low. But the more deserving bottom of the year for me is Megalopolis, because we've got that's my worst of the year.
I should have put that higher, honestly. So like I said, I didn't really put them in order on this one, but yeah.
Right. Yeah, Megalopolis, just because it's a director that's done so many amazing like works of art. Apocalypse Now, the Godfather trilogy, or at least the first 2. It's just, your expectations are higher, and it was this passion project for like 4 decades. And then you get this, and it's so self-important, and it's so high off the smell of its own farts.
Could I just get an empty glass? Oh, sure. Can you believe all these imbeciles in Texas? They just put another prisoner to death.
And it's like it's like if Elon Musk made a movie about himself, and then all the people I expected like all the people to worship him in the theater or something like that. It's so narcissistic, and it just left a real bad taste in my mouth. And the more I thought about it, the more I'm like, ugh, I hate that movie. And nothing else. I know a lot of people are going to say like Joker 2 was that for them, because it was just like spitting in the face of the fans, and it gave nobody what they wanted. That's nowhere near my bottom of the year, but Megalopolis was that for me. It's just like, are you angry at the people who chose to see this movie? Did I do something wrong that I'm being punished for? Ugh. Yeah, that is by far, that's one of the worst theatrical experiences I've ever had, actually. If you don't count like the people in the crowd being the problem, I think that's I would have absolutely walked out of the theater if I wasn't going to make a review about it.
That would have been funny
that's
if we both
worse.
walked out.
Yeah, maybe one day in the future we're gonna reach our breaking point and both walk out of the theater, and we'll tell you all about it, and we'll do our partial reviews the best we can. But that was our worst of the year. You know, 2025 we'll probably see even less movies that we don't want to see, and probably make less mistakes like that. I hope. Maybe that's my New Year's resolution, is to see less rock bottom garbage movies. But there were a lot of great ones. So check out our best of the year if you haven't checked that out already, and stay away from these movies. They're bad. Or if you like them, tell us about why we're wrong in the comments. I'm sure some of these movies have their defenders, and you can tell us all about it. But yeah, if you haven't subscribed already, subscribe, and we will see you next year, guys. Thanks for watching.